stuff, Russ?
Yeah, you can. I just didn't want anybody to trip and fall. Or somebody else. There we go. How's that?
Think I'm an old person or what?
Next one too, if we can.
That switches over here.
There we go. Now I
So what happens, you know, next thing you know, you're on the crew.
Which we need.
All right.
You see, okay?
Giving me what I want. Here, it's not giving me what I want. It's just start there. Let's try it again. Now that's on my screen. See, okay, you guys can have fun about what I'm doing right now. There we go. Yeah.
Turn up the volume.
I don't have any music here. It's just silent.
You could
But
see.
these are some of the images that Frank had.
Can we get rid of the,
And,
can we get rid of the green and the red so that we don't?
Zoom window?
Go to full screen.
That's on the bird.
Click on the three dots, Russ,
what, 3 dots?
the 3 dots.
Come over here and help me.
Hide the floating meeting control. It's right in the middle.
What?
Hide the floating meeting control. It's right in the middle.
Oh,
Middle of the list.
Middle of the list, yes.
Nope.
Three dots, you're on. This one.
this one here? This one, okay.
Could we start over?
Yeah.
It'll loop.
It doesn't have to cover my screen.
It's,
I don't.
So what are we doing, Russ?
I'm just showing you some of Frank's work right now. This will go ahead and, as people get up and speak and talk about Frank, this will just continue to play through. This is some of Frank's work that he did. And, I have about 5 seconds on each screen is what I have. Okay, just so you can appreciate some of his artwork that he did. And then later on, I'll talk about some of the individual pieces that I thought were interesting that Frank oftentimes talked about doing.
All of us.
Getting down on your eye level. It's the water.
Well, I wanted to stop there anyway, okay. I grabbed the wrong one, there's another one we have, okay.
This is the sign-in sheet for tonight.
Okay, where are the three dots going? I'm trying to X out of here. Okay, Bruce, I need some help here.
Keyboard,
I'm not seeing how I can check out.
close the box.
I need to stop the screen share.
Yeah.
Hit escape.
Oh, escape, that's what I was supposed to do, okay. So there was another thing here that I did want to show on the, that I went through and did. Was, you may have had an opportunity, if you type in Frank Peele and you go to the Dignity website, they have a slideshow presentation that families and others prepared. You could click on that, and that has some of these images that I'm now gonna sit here and show you. You know, it was more about Frank, that he wasn't just a photographer, he was a father, a husband, and a family man. But some of these next photos that I'll be showing you have to do with being a photographer and also doing things with his family. And I may go ahead and stop it in the middle and do that. And I hope I didn't grab the same one. I think I did. I did grab the right one.
Thanks, Nick.
Nope, I grabbed the same one. All right. Bear with me. I'm sorry, folks.
What is the dignity file?
Voted to save the movie and didn't do that. So I guess what I'll have to do is just simply go to Lightroom and pan through the images, and they're going to be in the order that they're in.
Do you know the name of the file, Russ?
It was supposed to be the Frank Peele 6 movies, and it was supposed to be the ones of him and his family. So these are going to basically all be out of order. .
Russ? Russ?
Am I sharing the screen?
Yes, he can't hear me.
What? Oh,
Russ, there's an app on,
The screen is shared.
Okay.
You're just, we're seeing exactly what you are on the desktop.
Here we go. Did I get a line around it?
Yeah.
No, okay, we're just gonna have to go through it. Here's a picture, you know, I never remember Frank without, I can hardly remember Frank without a beard. But in this presentation, this is a picture with Frank without a beard. I always remember him being a kind of a teddy bear type of person. And, you know, that's the way I view Frank with the beard. I'll just take you through some of the pictures that I took from the internet and other places. This is Frank receiving an award from IEPBB. He was involved in many different clubs, California Professional Photographers. He received many rewards. Did that cut off Redlands Daily Facts?
We're
Yes.
good. We're good.
Okay, all right. And then he enjoyed taking pictures with our members. And here's another picture of Frank. This is when he was in the Navy. Doesn't he look really stern there? And his daughter Donna could probably tell you something about the plaque he had on his desk, what the other officers underneath him thought. This is young Frank when he went into the military, into the Navy at the age of 17.
are you talking
There
about
he
his
is,
Simon
photographed.
Legree
Look at the
pack
camera that he
or
has there.
plaque?
Isn't that interesting? This is also him becoming a commander. This is his wife, Sue. There's another camera. And he always had fun with his family members. He would take his camera with him, but the family was all important. Here you can see with a camera and a bag and going out somewhere, probably in Joshua Tree. He also enjoyed being MC for several of the photographic clubs and events. And of course, at IEPPB. There we go. Do you all remember the monolith there that we've seen in our club?
Yep.
Along with the Joshua tree? And if you get down just right, the tree overshadows the monolith. You'll see one later. His family thought it'd be a real neat treat for Father's Day to have the family go up in a balloon. And they were able to do that. That was over in Temecula. And that was his Father's Day gift in 2008. And here are some of the pictures from it. Oh, there's one. There will be other ones coming. That's his wife Sue again. This is a field trip in front of the church at the University of Redlands. Again, an award that he was receiving from Commercial Photographer of the Year in 2011. Some of you might recognize Troy Miller on the right. I'm left, I'm not sure who's on the right. Again, they went out and had fun as a family. Again, the family. Frank was a perfectionist when it came to wanting to get the colors right. And if you know this little card there, you can use that making your images good. Again, going out and taking pictures with the family. This was at Pebble Beach in 2019. Frank also enjoyed doing workshops. This was in 2019. This was a splash event that I remember having here at the Redlands Camera Club. Again, other members of our club, they like taking pictures with Frank. This is Dorothy Cunningham, who's in Tennessee now. This is his family again. Again, family here. Feeding the giraffe at a wild animal park. This was in Michigan. They do have the living desert where they have these giraffes also in towards Palm Springs. What happened? I got froze. Am I all the way at the end? Yeah, we're all the way at the end. Hang on just a minute. You know, this print is so small here. Here we go. Here's some more images.
There's
of
someone I know.
family. There we go. This is supposed to be a picture of Frank Peele. Does that look like Frank?
No, looks like somebody else in the video.
Well, he has a white beard, okay. This is Frank when he was a Cub Scout. I wondered if he ever became a Boy Scout. This is his brother, and then also, this is Frank, Joyce, and Roger at Granny's house in Princeton, North Carolina. Family pictures here. Frank with one of the babies, his wife again. More with his wife. Again, you can see Frank with his camera, went out to, they love to photograph airplanes and like to have fun. I'm gonna skip through these, come on, why are we stuck there? Because I'm at the end, okay. I feel disappointed that I lost these, the program that I had, let's see. Those were the photos there. I don't have- Oh, I have to show you this one. Here we go. This is one of Frank's portraits that he was proud of, and he put his signature on it. This is Frank's Granny Walters. It was one of the portraits that he did, probably many, but it's one that he kept because it was important to him.
That was his first professional portrait, we think. He actually took that of his grandmother when he was just a child.
Oh, this is some of the other ones I think I missed. We had that one. That one. I don't think we saw these. I am sorely disappointed in myself this evening that I copied that file and it renamed it and gave it the same pictures. And it didn't, let me double check that real quick.
It's not in the one on the desktop.
I'm sorry, what?
Look at the one on the desktop, the folder, it says Frank Peele.
No, that one we went through. That one we saw all these images here. Let me check one other area real quick. Let me go to applications.
Russ,
I'm sorry, what?
look to the right of your screen, you've got another one that says Frank's Family MP4.
Okay. Thanks.
It's a movie.
All the way to the right, it's on the border.
Black.
Oh, that's what I'm probably looking for. Hang on. Open with. That's what I did wrong. Okay, there we go.
You've got a share screen.
There we go. That's the one I was looking for. Okay. Thank you.
Russ, you need to stop your share and reshare that screen.
I'm going to just a second. Okay. Stop. Where to go?
You closed it. You want to open again?
It's always best if you share your desktop, that way you always know exactly what you're sharing.
Oh, no, hang on. Oh, that's what I did. There we go. Is this all on the screen?
No.
Almost.
Sort of.
Yeah, that's there. Okay.
No, it needs to go to the left.
There you go.
All right, here we go. The many faces of Frank Peele.
Again, click on the three
Oh, I'm
dots.
sorry, Dorothy. I mean, Donna, I put too many E's in Frank's name. Here we go.
Just move it over a little to the right, we won't know it.
Let's get going. Frank loved cars too, by the way. So what I'd like to do at this point in time is I need to check one thing out real quick. Make sure I have the right thing here.
Speak loud enough so the Zoom people can hear, please.
Well, I don't want them to hear what I'm having to say. Really. I just want to make sure I have the right package. Yeah, this is the right one, okay. So what I was gonna do this evening is as we have individuals come up and speak to us, I want the individuals here in the room to, come and be at the speaker here, so that way members can sit there and see who's talking to them, behind the camera there. but I was also gonna go through and share the screen. And so we hopefully have got this set up to where everybody can hear other people talking is what we're, and asking questions if they do. And so in the meantime, we're just gonna play Frank's work in the background as members get up and talk about, their experiences with Frank's or things that they have learned. And I'd like to ask Jim Hendon, he gave me some ideas on this presentation to do as we sit back and talk. Jim, where'd you go?
He stepped out for a minute.
What?
He stepped out for a minute.
He stepped out.
I
for a
assume
minute.
he's coming back.
Okay, so we'll do something a little different. I guess I can find. Ann Kramer, can you hear me?
We need the speaker on Zoom.
Yes,
Okay, we need to,
yes. Can you hear me?
Should be on.
All right, guys. And can you go ahead and talk?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Not on.
Ann, can you hear me?
It's not on.
It's on.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Yeah,
Okay. Yes. Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
we can hear you.
Hello.
Okay.
Try and get Ann on the screen. It's not going yet. There we go. And you have a few thoughts that you wanted to share about Frank? Or?
I'll read what I wrote for the photogram.
Perfect.
Okay. I think I found this in the photogram because I didn't make a copy of it, but this is what I wrote about a month ago, I think. I miss Frank. Frank Peele was one of the people who made meetings and competitions interesting to me. Yes, he spoke over my head most of the time, but he still made me feel safe to ask questions. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. His knowledge base surpassed most of the rest of us, yet he was one of the most encouraging members of our club. He always had the nicest compliments, and even with all of his mastery and experience, he treated me with the kind of respect and interest one would hope for in a mentor. He was a man with a vast experience of camera and equipment, and yet one of the Frank-isms he is known for, or I remember him for, is the best camera is the one you have with you. He promoted knowledge of camera over trendy equipment. And one of the things I missed the most after he left the club was his exciting interjections into competition dialogue when he raised a challenge. I still remember him going, challenge. A couple of them were about an entry of mine, and I loved how he instigated passionate discussions. Frank knew so much, but in most cases, he was an interested listener and intent observer with people. All these qualities lead me to say Frank is someone we could all try to be a little more like.
Amen.
Thank you. Are there others on Zoom that would like to? I know Nick, where's Nick Kohler? Is he? There you are. Oops. Is there anyone else out there? Bruce Benet? You wanted to share some thoughts?
I'll definitely. First of all, Sue, it's good seeing you again, and I'm so sorry I was not able to make the funeral. I've been out of town or out of the state and country for the last 2 months, so. But, you know, I know Frank Peele now, yeah, it's probably about 30, 35 years. It's been a long time since I got introduced to him first in Redlands Camera Club. What really impressed me about Frank was he was dedicated, absolutely dedicated, not only to the family, but to the various organizations, especially Redlands Camera Club, always trying to make sure it was good, make sure that it was providing an excellent opportunity for everyone to grow. I consider him my mentor. he was constantly challenging me to do better. And not only just for personal reasons, but also to be able to move up in various organizations, be able to help support them. As he mentioned, he was Redlands Camera Club. He was in the Inland Empire Professional Photographers. He was with the Professional Photographers of California. All the things he was doing was to help individual photographers become better at what they did. I really miss him. I remember, because we lived close together, we'd spend a lot of time together on the road, going to the various organizations. It's fun talking to him about the experiences we had, not only in photography, but also within the military, because we both shared that background on it. And I loved him when he was the various MCs at the various organizations, especially when he was Santa Claus at IAPPV, or helping pass the gavel from one organization to the other, not people within the organizations, so the leadership. So he's missed.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you,
I miss
Bruce.
him too so much. And I love you all. Thank you for being such a good friend to Frank. He loved you all. And I miss him greatly.
Missing you too, Donna. Or Donna. Sue.
If any of you ever get a chance to get down here, I'd love to see any of you.
Love to.
Is there anyone else? Ann Kramer? Oh, Ann Kramer did the comment. Is there anybody else on Zoom that want to make some comments? We have others in the room. Jim Hendon.
Come up there, Rob.
Yeah, come on up here so that way they can see you. You can see yourself speaking, and I think they're on camera there.
Those clouds.
Yeah, now you've got your heads in the clouds. Let's see. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, that's good.
Thanks, Russ. Really appreciated what Ann and Bruce had to say. Those are two people who very obviously benefited from the club and grew, and their work speaks for itself. I was glad to hear Sue's invitation. It's now official. We're all going to San Diego. We're going to stay at her place. We got that right, Sue?
Yay!
We got an awful lot of things to say about Frank, but I'll try to be as brief as I can. I need to say first and foremost, when I was a new member, and I didn't know anybody well over 10 years ago, Frank made it a point to come up to me at meetings as a new member and talk to me. And he understood that the effect of that on new members. He was constantly recruiting the members to support the club, and he knew intuitively that if you were to make somebody feel welcome and show an interest in them, that they were more likely to contribute to the club. But the man was genuine. He was very genuine. He was not just genuine, he was genuinely interested in all of us. I really believe that. And you can tell by the way that he talked to us and encouraged us. This was, Bruce talked about Frank being a mentor, a role model. This was modeling, positive behaviors in organizations. I belonged to another club that with Frank, and he was the same guy in that club. He would show up at the meeting and go, "Hey, Joe, Bill, how are you?" and call you by your first name and greet you and talk. And it was lovely. He was a lovely man that way. Just a brief comment on Frank being an advocate for raw files versus JPEG. You know, I had a lot of fun teasing him about that, and I know others did. And I was thinking about it today, and I thought, why was Frank so adamant about that? And he would say, you don't want somebody, some computer deciding what your picture is going to look like. You don't want a JPEG, you want a raw file where the data is there, and then you decide what you're going to do with it. I thought, what? Where did that come from? I thought, just a theory. Since he came up with cameras and film and negatives, I think he thought of JPEGs as somebody messing with his negatives. And that was part of the reason that he wanted us all to take those data files and make our pictures and own our pictures. I think that was where he was coming from on that. Another thing about Frank, and we all know there's this debate in the photo community about real versus fake or altered images, you know, when is an image too altered and when is it real and all of this. And I always came down on the real side, you know, I'm not real comfortable with too much manipulation. And I thought, well, surely Frank is a real photo guy. He's got to be for sure. And was I ever wrong about that? Frank believed that photographer was an artist. And whatever you want to do with your image, that's your business, and you should be encouraged to do that. Not only should you be encouraged, you should be encouraged to enter those images in competition, and not have anybody say, "Hold on a minute, that one doesn't fit." So he was a big advocate for us as photo artists, and a couple of other things. You know, he was a big advocate for competition. He believed that competition built character. He believed it was important for us to have our butts in the chairs squirming when our image went up. And the judges said this or that about him. We got our score. And we walked out, and I walked out my rattlesnake picture. That was a great rattlesnake. Some of you know my rattlesnake picture. It's a good one. And the judges didn't like it. And I thought, that's a great rattlesnake. That is a great rattlesnake. I had to finally admit it could have been better. You know, the snake was looking the wrong way. You really couldn't see his eyes. So, okay, all right, I just learned something from competing. And he encouraged us to compete. That was why he did that, because he knew that it would make us a better photographer. He was very much about the vision and the theme of the club that way. And, oh boy, I'm grateful to Frank for hosting so many exhibits at the Methodist Church. You know, he not only encouraged us to compete, he encouraged us to show our work. You know, put your work out there, and then take responsibility for making a good print and framing it and hang it up and let people judge that. Let people see it. You know, be proud. It's the same experience. You know, every year going to the gallery, if you never had your picture up on the wall before, all these people looking at it, and you knew that was good progress. You just knew that. Frank, some of us have said that Frank was a guy who loved fun. I mean, you don't do a drops and splashes workshop if you aren't a bit of a nut who likes to have some fun. Let's point our cameras at some glasses and, you know, I mean, that's a kid, that's like childlike. He never stopped having fun. Some of you were along for the Borrego Springs night shoot some years ago. I know Jerry Reese was there, and Frank and I were in charge of that thing. Boy, did things go wrong. But he was just having a ball. He didn't care. We were supposed to go out when it was still light and look at all the metal sculptures so we knew where they were. Then go have dinner, then come back out and go out in the dark with the stars in the sky and take photographs. Well, we ran out of time and we didn't get to go look at the sculptures when it was still light. So we all went to dinner. 20 people at a long table with individual separate chairs. So this took forever. You know, by the time we finally got out there, you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. And Frank was riding with me, and he had brought along a box of two-way radios and given one to each car. And so Frank and I are leading the cars out into the night. And I cannot see anything. You know, I thought it was a take over. Yeah, here's the elephant. Oh yeah, here's the dinosaur. We're gonna go over here next. We're gonna do this. I couldn't see anything. You know, we're talking on the radio. We finally found our way to some, and Frank set up his camera, and I can still see him walking around in the dark, light painting, you know, this sculpture, and just having a ball, And boy, I agree, Bruce, I miss this man. He was a great influence on me and on all of us, and so with that, I'll hand it off to someone else.
Thank you, Jim.
I'm gonna go back to share screen again because I want to talk about some of Frank's work. I don't know how many of you knew Frank, how well you knew Frank, some of you knew pretty well. I didn't know until recently, about a year ago, that Frank used to have a framing business that he did, so he would frame images, and he would do that. You know, when you start putting your name on an image, you really get there and you start to own it, because you're putting your name on it. When you put your print in a gallery, you're owning the image, the print. And so I want to go back and do a share screen again, because I want to go through some of his images. If I can find Lightroom, there we go. Lightroom, there we are there. Let me go back to his images again. I just want to talk about a couple of them, because he sat back and he talked about what he talked about, he did. And so that was really something that I enjoyed about him. It's not the portraits, give me time. Where did it go? Oh, these letters are so small here, and I got so much stuff on my desktop that it makes it hard to sit there and see. You know what I did? Hang on, just bear with me for a minute. Let me go away from screen share. I sure hope I'm not. There we go. That's what I was looking for. I have to drag it back to my desktop because that's what it's looking for. There we go. There we are. Okay. So, here's an image that Frank needs. Is that on the screen, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Hit F so it's full. Bingo.
This is an image that Frank had done that won Best of Show, one of our competition. Frank would not enter his images in competition because he was always fearful that one of the judges would fall out of the competition and he'd have to step in as a judge. So this is one image that won Best of Show, one of our competition, because of the fact that he was able to have enough judges in the competition. One of the things that I noticed about some of his images, and you have to be able to accept criticisms from time to time on your images. And I'm looking for one particular one here real quick. This is an image I wanted to speak about. If you look real closely where I have my cursor here, do you see the yellow there? Do you see the yellow in the image?
Yeah.
Let me, there we go. See the little, he painted that in there, or he turned everything black and white except for that. That drew your point to the image. It's like what you were saying, Jim, it's art. And, in the rest of the image, you have that one little yellow spot there. I just have, I want to get to the image. Hang on. Just one particular one. Here we go. Frank would sit here and often comment about having, is that all there? Or I've only got, okay, so it's all there. I got the green square. Okay. One of the things Frank would talk about images in competition was to put a keystroke around the image. What I thought worked really well in this image that he had here was the fact that this is actually a print, so it didn't have a mat. So this color was put in around the mat, but he did the flower jumping out of the mat, which gave it more depth to the image. And so, you know, again, creating art. It wasn't centered in the middle of the frame either. Breaking rules, okay? The flower was off-centered, but it made it very interesting to sit there and look at it. The keystroke was very nice. I like that. But the mat was different. So here, you don't always have to put the image in the middle of the frame. And so I like seeing that. The other thing that Frank would do on his images, let's see if I can get this to go where I want it to go. Let's see. If you look in the very corner, that's so full, Frank would sign his images with a gold pen when he would sit there and sign his prints. I thought that, again, that's going back and putting your name on an image that's saying, this is my image, I own it. Well, you know, sometimes our images may not be the best of what we want, but there are other things that Frank used to say, and you know, I wish what I knew today about photography, I knew 20 years ago when I joined the club. Frank would always tell us the camera's bodies will cycle out every 2 or 3 years. This was knowledge that he shared with all of us, okay? And buy good glass. The other thing he would preach is get a really good tripod, you know, so that way it could be steady. And he needs to sell these little pouches that went underneath it. I wonder, Sue, if they have any of those. You have still some of those. I wonder if Frank has sold them all. But that was one thing. The other thing was buy really good glass. Well, until the mirrorless cameras came out, now you have to start upgrading your glass because they will still take good pictures with the older lenses. But the other issue you run into with the newer lenses, there's less space between the mirror or the sensor and the lens. So now they're actually able to get some sharper images. So those are some of the images that I thought were really very interesting. A number of years ago, we had you know, some of the subjects that we brought in. We talked about light painting one time. Here we go. This is an image that Frank had done about light painting. And it was done in a hangar at night, and it was a compilation of many images where they painted different sections of the plane to give it different depth to it. And so much of the stuff, like what Jim had talked about, having activity where we did splashes and drops. I remember that one. That one was a fun one. But, you know, these are things that we all bring to the club. And so the one thing I remember, one of the first field trips I went on the club was to Kimberly Crest. And it was an ice shoot, which was really interesting. You got to, oh wow, look at how you can look all over the San Bernardino Valley from up at Kimberly Crest. And that was really neat. But then he complained about this one person that wore an orange shirt and how it got in the way of the other photographers. Oh, that was me. So I started wearing more neutral colors, but I love wearing orange. So anyway, those are some of the thoughts I wanted to share. I am grateful for the time that I was able to, and it's not only grateful for time that I've spent with Frank, it's also time I've spent with other photographers of the club in being able to learn about photography and the wealth of knowledge that all of you share with everybody. And that's one of the things that drew me to the club in the first place, was the willingness of its members to share knowledge and experiences that they have. And you know, like I said, I wish I knew what I knew today back when I joined the club. Boy, it would save me thousands of dollars. Not that I'm being cheap. Yes.
Hey, Russ, would you put up his photo of the Lincoln Shrine? It's right there in that collection.
Yeah, I can do that. Sure. We actually had an activity that we went to there. Let me see.
Well, that, he
Go
told
the
me,
other way.
not sure where it is, but he
Okay,
told
we're
me
almost there.
that was an elaborate composite that,
Oh, really? Okay,
yeah.
there you go.
it wasn't a single
There we
single
go.
frame.
The sky was separate.
He built that thing, and I just think it's a great example of Frank as a photo artist, craftsman. Look at the way that the fountains are lit. The window is lit.
There's another one here that shows his artmanship too. And I forget who mentioned it to me. This one here. Here we go. Nice spotty tree. I remember him talking about this not too long ago, about a year ago, a year and a half ago. You know what he said he did? He photoshopped the eagle in the picture.
Right.
Yes,
He
this is
drew it.
called art.
I was shocked. I was shocked when he said
What?
He drew it.
He drew it in, right.
You drew it in? Oh, okay, he drew it in, okay.
Drew it in.
Not that we photoshopped it in, he drew it in, so I kind of thought that was really neat. It is art, and photography is what you make it. And as I looked at all these pictures that I saw that Frank had done, one of the things that I thought was so wonderful about it is one of the things we do with our pictures is we take pictures with our family. I think, so we have memories that we go back to, and we can remember these opportunities and experiences that we have, and sometimes when our minds will fade, we go back to the picture and say, oh, wow, wasn't that a neat experience, you know? We have a few other members that want to make some comments, so I can simply go escape again, stop the screen share, and we have some members here that wanted to make some comments. Judith? And I'm gonna go speaker view.
Russ?
I got the wrong speaker.
Go ahead,
Sorry about
Sue.
that, Sue. There we go.
The last picture that you showed of Frank with the eagle and that, I sat in the car for I don't know how long for him to take that. But I had early on learned that when I went with Frank and he was going to be taking a picture, I better have a book with me because there's no telling how long it was going to be that I was going to be sitting in that car. But I never said to him, hurry up or anything. He took his time and I was happy to do that.
Okay, Judith would like, just right, just stand right there. I'm sorry. My phone is blinking.
Let's go back to the 3 pins.
Okay.
All right. Hi, everyone. Hi, Sue. Really glad to see everyone. I had a lot of things I wanted to say originally, but everybody's been saying most of them, so I'm not gonna overly repeat it. But I will say that I go far enough back with Frank that when I first knew him, he had hair on his head and none on his face. It's a long time ago. It's been really long. And I first met him when I took a basic photography class through the adult education. And that's how I ended up joining the club. And he was such an inspiration in that class that I knew I had to become part of the organization that he was so instrumental in running and being part of and so on. One of the things it's my first Photoshop Elements class that I took. One of the things that he said, one of his rules was, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I've probably been the worst transgressor of all the people he ever taught, because I've gone way, way, way beyond in doing all kinds of crazy things with my photography. But one of the nice things is he would look at things and recognize that it's okay. Maybe I wouldn't have ever done that, but it's okay that she did. And that was always something interesting. I had an image, especially when Frank was a judge in one of our competitions. If I got high praise from Frank in my competition image, it just thrilled me to pieces, because I knew if I got it from Frank, it really meant something. So I just wanted to say that he was such an inspiration for Ireland's, but everyone said that, so I'm not going to repeat it again. But thank you.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Sue. Everybody, like Judith said, has already said it. So I want to say something a little bit different, but before I do that, I wanna talk about what Frank teased me about for maybe the first, I don't know, 6 or 7 years. Teased me about my purple tripod. I love my purple tripod.
Still,
You know, I still have it, it was very important that I got a purple tripod. It didn't matter that it was a little floppy, you know, this was all before I came here, so, you know, I just adjust my camera to the tripod. So I learned that, you know, probably the first time I went out with Frank, he wanted to know what I had, what was that, and it, you know, it's a tripod, and he laughed at me and said, yeah, no, it's not a tripod, you know, so that was one of the first things that I remember about Frank, that he teased me about my tripod in a very comical, you know, way, and an encouraging way, but yet get rid of it. So, still have it though. So other than that, what I want to say mainly about Frank, is from my heart. And that is, Frank reminded me of the military. And the reason being is that, I was raised, you know, I was a military brat, Army brat. And before I even knew he was in the military, I sensed that dignity, the strength and power that he had within himself that a lot of officers have. You have to really, you have to just be able to walk in any place, and know and have that confidence and portray it, and yet be humble at that same time. And that is exactly what Frank was. He was humble and yet strong. And I just so admired that about him, because it's not very often that you meet a man like that. And for me, it always reminded me of the military, because that's where you find them. And so when he said that he was, you know, an officer in the Navy, it's like, wow, of course you are. Otherwise I wouldn't like you. You know, there's something about someone who can have that strength and authority and still make you feel comfortable with who you are and encourage you. And he definitely was an encouragement to me. And when he critiqued my images, I never felt threatened by it or criticized by it, but encouraged by him. And he could take something that everybody, you know, this is a big boo-boo. This is, you're definitely an amateur if you did this. But Frank could take that, and he did, one of my first images. And he said, this is how you can make it better. And this will be a strong image if you do this. And with that, I think that he was just a great mentor, and there was no turning back. There was just so much respect for Frank and for that natural teacher and leader and encourager that he was. And so I can say everything everyone else said, but this was from my heart, and I will always miss him, Sue. It's not often that we get to experience someone like Frank Peele, and I'm so honored that I had that opportunity. So thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to come up and share their thoughts? Bruce, Erwin?
Carl?
Oh, Carl. And Nick,
Yes.
you always had something fine to say what Frank told. Would you like to also come up after Carl to share some thoughts, to share your thoughts? I really always like your thoughts that you share with me.
Well, when Russ asked me to say a few words tonight, it was, said, just only about 3 minutes, no more. Let's keep it short. So I just thought of a few anecdotes about Frank and what a good friend he was. When I first joined the Camera Club, I had been in the Air Force for 20 years and in industry for 20 years, commuting to Long Beach every day. So I didn't really get to do much photography. I bought a couple of nice cameras, but I thought, I know what depth of field is. I know everything about photography. But I signed up for Frank's class, the adult education class. I think Judith was in the class that I was in back in, must have been 08, 09, something like that. But we had a good class, and I thought, okay, now you can answer some of my questions, Frank. And I said, Frank, what's depth? What's the F stop? What's that mean? What's an F with a little line after it and those numbers? I understand that the aperture is smaller with the big number and larger with the small number. I understand all that stuff. And I know something about depth of field, but where do you come up with that number? And he showed me. He stood at that chalkboard, or it was a whiteboard, and with diagrams and explanations about aperture size, focal length. I mean, it's really a complicated mathematical process. And he was right, formulas and everything else, and got all done, and I could not explain it to you today. But Frank explained it to me that day, and I really appreciated it. But from then on, I was a little bit in awe of Frank, a little bit almost afraid of him, because he was so good and he knew so much. Then one day, Frank was appointed one of the judges at the Orange County Fair photography competition. And he called me up. He said, how'd you like to go to the Orange County Fair? I got a judge down there and I got some passes. Get your wife. Carol and I joined Frank and Sue, and we drove down, Frank drove down to Orange County. He made his judging, and we walked around and enjoyed the fair and so on. And we spent hours talking about being military people. And I had 20 years in the Air Force, and he had 30 plus in the Navy. And we had very similar careers. We've been in some of the same countries. And Frank was it was just like two military families talking and having a great time. I don't know if we talked that much about photography. We just talked about our adventures in the military. So Frank became a really good friend from this. Well, it wasn't too much of a friend. But then I got to thinking about one other incident that I had. And this was up Kimberly Press. One of his class things was he'd go to class several days, we'd talk about stuff. And then he'd say, okay, we're gonna go field trip. We went to Kimberly Press. I don't know who was in that class with me that day, but one of the things I remember about it was that they said, you can stay as long as you want. But as soon as the sun went down, the loudspeakers came on and said, this is a restricted area. The police have been called and they're on the way. But the sun was getting low in the sky. And Frank thought everything had been planned out and all this stuff. Frank said, okay, everybody, let's do this. Let's take some shots. And I had my camera up, was about to take a shot. And Frank said, hey, everybody, come look at this. I got to be Frank's bad example. My lens was so covered with dust. It was amazing. And it was just the right angle of the sun so you could really see it. And into his pocket he goes, and out he comes with a little squeeze bottle and blew the dust off of the lens and made quite a few comments about, this is why you gotta have your lens clean. And I thought, okay, Frank, I am very, very happy to be your bad example. Because he was a good friend and I really respect it. So I thank you for giving me a few minutes to talk about Frank. I'm Nick Kohler, and Frank and I hit it off really good right from the start, because this being an Air Force town, I came from the Navy. And so when Frank would come into the room or I would come into the room and we would meet eyes, we would always call each other shipmate. How you doing, shipmate? And so we hit it off pretty good, both coming from the Navy. He went in about, he's my same age. And, he went in about 6 months before I did, and he came out about 27 years after I did. But, anyway, before I go on, I just want to acknowledge, Sue and Donna. I see them on the screen. I attended the celebration of life in San Diego, and Donna and one of Frank's granddaughters did an awesome job. I'm sorry that you're not going to be able to see that, but I did want to acknowledge the fact that they did an awesome job for you, Sue. Anyway, I wanted to say a couple of words about some field trips that I went on. Well, first of all, let me back up just a little bit. I've been in the club a little over 20 years, and I probably attended back in the days when all the classes were free. I probably attended every single class that Frank offered. Starting with, not starting, but as early as Elements 3, I remember, Introduction to Photography, and just every one of them. And he just had a way of communicating at a level that everybody could understand it. And one of the things that I remember is when we were out on field trips, especially at night, and I'd be having a problem. Of course, most of you know that Frank was a Canon man and I was a Nikon man. But I still have problems. And I'd go to Frank and I'd say, Frank, I got a problem. And he'd come over and he'd look at it and he'd say, well, I know what your problem is. He says, did you bring your manual? And I said, oh, yes, of course, because he would preach that in every class. You should never go out on a photography trip without your manual. And so he didn't know exactly how to manipulate the camera, but he knew what was wrong, and he fumbled through the few pages like he had read it 100 times, and he'd say, oh yeah, try this and try that and everything. In the middle of the night, in the dark with a red light, he'd be helping. He's very, very helpful in that way. The other point that I wanted to share with you, and any of you that have attended any of Frank's class will relate to this. Many times Frank would be, well, I'll give you an example. He would be talking about the importance of making sure that you had your memory card in there before you left the house. Or make sure that when you've got a black image in there that you think maybe you want to take the lens cap off the front. And one of the ones that I remember very well was you got this 12 pounds of camera and lens on there with a big tube on it like this for a lens hood, and it's setting on a tripod. You better have that strap wrapped around your neck, because if a wind comes along, there's $5,000 laying in the dirt. And Frank would always say, in a kind of a sheepish way, and with his head down, I can just picture it, and I'm sure that you will too. He would say, don't ask me how I know that.
Thank you, Nick.
Deborah. Which Deborah?
Not me, I didn't plan anything.
Okay.
Everyone's already said everything that I could possibly say about Frank.
Do we have anybody else out there that would like to say some words? Again, Sue and Donna, thank you for joining us this evening. Okay. What? You want to come up? I have one more comment after you get that.
Thank you for sending us the link.
Kish Doyle was one of our past presidents, and Frank had a way of inviting members up to step up to the plate. I've learned more about photography by sharing what I know with others and helping them to learn about photography. And Kish Doyle told me a story, how she became president of the club. And what had happened way back when, before I ever came along, was they had a president and vice president that were husband and wife. And they left in the middle of their term, which left the camera club with no president and no vice president. And Frank reached out to Kish and says, look, would you be willing to be president? And Kish basically said, I really don't want to. I don't know how to do it. And her and Frank came to kind of agreement that, Frank, if you were to me for the next 6 or 7 months on how to be president, I will step up and be president. And she was president for the next couple of years. And so Frank had a way of sitting there and asking people to step up to the plate and say, would you be willing to do that? You know, and I think because people are willing to step up to the plate and maybe do something that's really they're kind of uncomfortable about, as I know a number of you are, I just want to say thank you to all of you that take the time to participate in the club and help members to grow, whether you're on the board or at the head of a committee, or you just come to our meetings and share what you know. I am grateful for our camaraderie that we have here in the club. Nick, I wanted to make one comment that you didn't make. You've always told me, Frank used to tell you, enter your best image in a competition. Nick has always just entered, as long as I was competition chair, one image. Even though he could offer 2 or 3, he just put his best image in. And I always thought that was really neat advice. I'm not telling any of you do that. I like to get opinions on all my images, but you know, what makes the camera club work is the fact of all of our members. That's what makes the Redlands Camera Club, is our members and our camaraderie and the willingness to share knowledge, understanding, and go out and shoot and take pictures. And again, they don't have to be, they can be a snap. That's okay. You can have a snap, or you can do and make it art if you want. It's all up to you. It's what you see in your vision is what motivates you to go out and take pictures and enjoy the wonderful world that God has given us. I just want to thank you all for all that you do for the club.
To all of you who are listening, I know that Frank has camera equipment. I know I have 2 granddaughters who are interested in a couple of Frank's cameras. But when all of it is put together, I'm sure that Frank would be only too happy to be about the barking. Oh.
All right, sorry, the grand dog just came over.
Stop. Good heavens.
Oh, my.
What a rude hello that was to everybody there from the dogs. Oh.
If anybody was sleeping, you probably aren't now.
Anyway, what I was gonna say was there's 2 granddaughters that are interested in a couple of Frank's cameras. But I'm sure there's gonna be other photographic things that the camera club could use. And you're certainly would be welcome to come down and peruse it. I don't know how to what else to say, but I know that Frank would be only too happy to be able to donate what can be given to the camera club. And I would be happy for you all to have it. So I thank you for all your love that you gave Frank, and you've just been wonderful people to him and to me. And I hope you will stay in touch with me. I miss Redlands enormously and wish I could have stayed there.
Sue, thank you so much for sharing Frank with us. You know, it's with the amount of many years and investments that he's made in our lives. Thank you for, you know, it takes two to tango. And thank you for allowing him to be that influence and that inspiration that he was in our lives. So thank you so much.
Yeah, we spent 62 and a half years together. So it's quite a loss.
I know that I wanted Bruce to close the meeting, but I just wanted to make a comment. With your granddaughters that are so interested in photography, they're welcome to join our camera club anytime and come out to our meetings. And if they need help or information with the photography, we are more than happy to share our knowledge and understanding of photography with them anytime that they would like help with it. I just wanted to share that.
Russ? I think Dorothy might like to share some thoughts she had. She
Dorothy,
unmuted herself. Dorothy, do you want to read what you wrote?
Oh, I'm just so proud that I knew Frank, and he was a blessing to all of us, and we learned so much from him. And I just give thanks for him and his family that he loves so much. And he made a difference, and he was loving, and we all loved him and his photography and what he shared with us. And I just give thanks for that. And I'm still with the Redlands Camera Club because Frank was such a very nice man, and he helped us. I was a terrible photographer when I started, but do you know what? I'm putting my pictures in with the advanced group now, and that's because Frank encouraged me, and he said, "Go, girl, you can do this." And then he would share all those wonderful pictures of his and all the detail that was there. He would do all these fantastic things with Photoshop, and he shared that with us. I didn't get it. I had to take Photoshop 2 times from him, you know, and I'm still learning. But he was a wonderful person, very inspirational, and we all loved him. And Sue, you must have been a wonderful wife, you know, to let him shoot for as many hours as he wanted to. I just think that's great. And Rosemary Sentman, one of our friends, she loves you too, you know. Y'all are good people. You did good, and thank you so much for sharing him with all of us. We appreciate it.
Well, I love you all.
Thanks, Dorothy.
One of the things I just want to say really quick, I think because of the fact that Frank has been in our lives, we've all become better photographers. Or maybe some of us have helped him become a better photographer too. It goes both ways, but we are blessed to have Frank in our lives and been able to learn from him. And it looked like you had a comment.
Are you talking to me, Russ?
Yeah, I thought you flashed on the screen like you
No,
wanted.
I just said thank you to Dorothy. I was glad she shared her thoughts.
And I think we're all better photographers because of what Frank has been willing to share with us, or did share with us. Bruce?
Well, when I first came to the camera club, one of the reasons I joined was because of Frank Peele. I said, here's a guy who he will have forgotten more than I will ever know. And that's somebody who I can learn from. He was always a gentleman. He had a great sense of humor and a sense of decorum when it came to critique. That you knew when your image had opportunities for improvement, but you never felt beat down. You never felt, you always felt that, okay, I could aspire to something greater. And I appreciate that about Frank. I also, he said, you date camera bodies, but you marry lenses. And he was the Pied Piper of tripods. There was one, we were up in Bear, and he gathered people around, and he had his tripod out, and he showed how you could take it this tall and how it had to have a sturdy base, and you would make this investment, because if you don't do it once, you're gonna, if you don't make the investment now, you're gonna buy so many tripods over the time. You could have saved yourself money if you would buy good gear. So he was an advocate of good gear. But he never, we did a macro photography class, talk that he had. And he was bringing out nodal rails and things that I didn't even know existed. Like, oh, I just thought we were just gonna come close to the subject. Again, he forgot more than I'll ever know. But you don't say no to Frank. He asked. He called me and said, "Would you be the president of the Redlands Camera Club?" And it was an honor and a privilege to be one of the many here who have taken that torch, passed the torch, and to run with it for the next little bit. So not only was Frank an incredible photographer, he was an incredible human being. We were better photographers, but we're also better people for knowing Frank. And we want to be inspired by not only his images, but by his example, to participate and to inspire the next generation when it comes to the photography and here in the club. I appreciate his investment. I appreciate his confidence. And thank you, Sue, for sharing him with us and for joining us tonight. It's been great. We do have, we brought food, which is tremendous. And so we'll continue and chit chat as we partake and remember Frank. So thanks so much. It was great having you guys on Zoom.
I hope you will all stay in touch with me. I would love to hear from any of you. Please, please do stay in touch with me.
Thank you, Sue. You got it.
Okay, good.
I'll make sure that I'll work through Donna. We'll make sure we get your contact info.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, I'm signing off here. Bye, guys.
All right. Appreciate it.
Good night from Tennessee.
Good night, Sue.
Bruce.
All right. You can hit stop recording and